The following review is intended for entertainment purposes and targeted for adult fans of the series.
He confronts Wreckmate, who wants to rack up another Ranger to that gamer score and then plunder the warehouse for all of its booty. This is what happens when you ad-lib. Hello there, heroes. I'm the Orange Ranger, and welcome to another Power Rangers Dino Fury Second Era episode review. Things got off to a pretty good start with last time's premiere, but the only downside was that things felt a little bit status quo. Now that we're past episode numero uno, are we in for more of the same? Literally? Let's find out by taking a look at the second episode of Dino Fury Second Era, The Festival.
Please make sure you're subscribed to the channel.
Yeah, and make sure you got your notifications set up by hitting that little bell icon.
Right you. What he said was, you can consider checking us out on Patreon or Ko-fi at Orange Ranger Videos.
We start in Area 62, where a dark, tentacly Sporix beast wanders in. Except, as it says, it be no Sporix beast. Wreckmate has returned, and their pirate brogue instantly had me smiling. They kinda yada the tale of how Wreckmate came back. Long story short, they weren't quite destroyed, they landed on the bottom of the ocean, etc, etc. Slither feels a bit threatened by another robotic general showing up and tries to shoo Wreckmate off. The two of them nearly come to blows, but Void Knight steps in with the classic villain wisdom. If you two feel like fighting, fight the Rangers. Wreckmate modifies this into a contest between them. Whoever defeats the most Rangers wins, because that always works out so well. Slither has developed a combat-enhancing potion, but Wreckmate steals it, and everybody sets to work. Zayto and Aiyon teleport into the base, summoned there by Solon, but there is no emergency. The other Rangers tried to figure out when the two's birthdays were, but as it turns out, Rafkonians do not celebrate birthdays. Instead, the planet has a single day, the Triple Sun Festival, where all gift-giving occasion presents are received at the same time. Aiyon gets a motorcycle. Who knows how who afforded that, and I already know full well we're not going to get to see him get a license for it. He does say that a picture of him on it would be perfect for his new Buzzblast profile, but I can't really be sure if this is a very subtle plot nod to the idea that Aiyon is working at Buzzblast now, or just if Buzzblast has some kind of social media aspect. Ollie gives Zayto a brand new weapon. I imagine this is sort of like seeing your friend get a, motorcycle, and then you are given a new keyboard for your office. It could be the latest, greatest, super ergonomic keyboard with all the fancy buttons for neat keyboard shortcuts. It's still something that you're using for work. Ollie calls them the T-Rex Energy Phase Weapon Strike Prototype 5X. Thank you, Netflix closed captions, for that. And I'm not even really sure why it has the complicated name. It's not a cute acronym, and it's not a reference to anything that I'm aware of. The Rangers call them the Dino Chucks, for short. So I'm not quite sure if you picked up on it just yet, I just remembered to mention it, but this does seem to be my once-a-season video that I record while I'm sick. I've picked up some kind of minor sinus infection. It's not really a big deal. It is impacting my voice and my energy level a little bit, so I thought I'd let you know.
Now I know!
Solon warns that the Chucks are really powerful, so no using them inside the base, and Zayto decides to just try them out later. They all go to flip the Flargon cakes being made for the festival, but Aiyon stays behind and, like the impulsive idiot we've come to know him as, starts playing with the Chucks inside anyway. They power up, he loses control of them, they fly into some kind of a door, and then bounce back and knock a case off of the counter, and then power down like they're broken.
Oh no! Our table! It's broken!
He just puts them right back in the box, and thankfully, for him, an alarm comes up as a distraction. As the audience is already aware, it's a two-for attack this time, so the Rangers split into Team Zoa, Zayto, Ali, Amelia, to go after Wreckmate, and Team Jaya, Javi, Izzy, Aiyon, to go after Slither. We follow Team Jaya as Slither and Mucus tease them for being easy to summon. They morph, Javi blasts Mucus out of the way quickly, and honestly, the Rangers handle Slither just as quickly. They summon some henchmen and retreat.
That was a great scene.
Team Zoa has a much harder time with Wreckmate, especially after they drink some more of the potion. I didn't mention it, but in the earlier scene when Wreckmate stole the potion, he drank it straight down and told Slither that he had drank every last drop of it.
Great continuity!
Wreckmate really tosses the Rangers around, even throwing Amelia into some rubber barrels. Zayto overhears Wreckmate say that they're using a potion, but he gets blasted around as well. The other two Rangers act as a distraction, and Zayto says he has a plan, Burb. Zayto, as Amelia has explained to you, it is not Burb, it's BRB. The two Rangers are no match for the powered-up Wreckmate, but then Zayto comes back with the Dino Chucks. They do work for a bit, but then he tries a high-powered move, and they short out. The explosion drives both sides back, and figuring that Wreckmate had retreated, the Rangers retreat themselves. Wreckmate didn't retreat though, they were still there, and chalks that up as some pretty decent points for his side. Wreckmate decides to keep running up its gamer score, going over to take on Team Jaya. Those Rangers are not a match either, and they also retreat. And of course, we get the classic case of the two bad guy generals. Slither comes back, arguing with each other instead of, doing whatever they want to do in the unprotected city. Back in the base, Solon tries to use one of her tools to figure out what went wrong with the Dino Chucks, but the tool was also damaged earlier. It overloads the Chucks and they completely explode. So they're gone now. It would be a really bold move for as short a time as we got them, but I still kind of want to see Hasbro make a toy of these things, if only for the lol humor value. Aiyon is still about to let all of this just go by without saying anything, but then Zayto and Solon notice that the door that was hit earlier was her tool cabinet, which also holds all of their spare parts, which have been fried.
Oh well, gosh darn, ain't that convenient? I mean inconvenient.
Aiyon finally fesses up, but in what is quickly becoming a recurring problem with this character, really doesn't seem all that guilty about it. The Chucks went kazoom, kaboom, kazap, kapow, and well, there you go. Everyone moves past it for the moment because there are bigger fish to fry, and Zayto certainly has an interesting idea, searching the legendary Ranger database to see what weapons they can possibly put together with the spare parts that they do have left. That's right, it's time for more nostalgia porn! We see the genie lamp gun thing from Mystic Force, the Cheetah Beast Blaster, Rick. Rick is from just a couple, actually, of years in this show's future. Ninja Storm's dolphin loudspeaker thing. Yes, listen, I'm not looking up the names for these weapons. It's really not that important. And Jaden's giant samurai sword.
We're just done with phrasing, right? That's not a thing anymore?
It's that sword that's actually Zayto's first idea, the Samurai Fire Smasher. And yes, we see clips of Samurai of Jaden using it. However, while Solon can recreate the sword itself, she has no idea what the disc that powers it is made of. And they give me the name of another weapon that I didn't bother to look up by looking further into it, Ninja Storm's Sonic Fin. However, Solon does not have a functioning speaker to install within it. I would also think that the ability to use its powers to, control people would probably be based on some kind of ninja skill that takes a long time to learn.
Okay, I guess that makes sense.
Now, if you're anything like me, you probably put this idea together a long time ago, but if Zayto's gift was busted by Aiyon, maybe they can use Aiyon's gift to make up for it. Lots of Ranger teams have had motorcycles, like the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and their Shark Cycles, or the Wild Force Rangers and their Savage Cycles, or the Ninja Steel Rangers and their Mega Morph Cycles, all of which we see clips of. However, Solon says she doesn't even have enough spare parts left to make a mini morph cycle. She and Zayto keep looking at weapon ideas as Aiyon wistfully looks at his bike. Of course, Aiyon offers up his bike. However, he says it's because the team and the city are more important, not because it's his fault the Dino Chucks were broken in the first place, because Aiyon is allergic to the very idea of taking responsibility. An alarm goes off, Wreckmate is back, and Aiyon at least takes responsibility here, telling Zayto and Solon to keep working on the bike while he goes to deal with Wreckmate. He confronts Wreckmate, who wants to rack up another Ranger onto his gamer score and then plunder the warehouse for all of its booty. But Aiyon morphs and goes Electro mode. The two blast each other around, and this is actually a very visually impressive fight with a lot of explosions. They fight, and suddenly one Ranger can beat around a robot that could beat not one, but two sets of 3 Rangers, one of which included the Ranger that's now pushing it around. Wreckmate does get a strong blast in that takes Aiyon down, but suddenly they're out of potion. Wreckmate pulls out an anchor, a literal type anchor, but hey, did you know you can listen to these Dino Fury second era reviews as podcasts over on anchor.fm/orange-ranger-audio? Check it out! And ties Aiyon up with it. They throw Aiyon around Zordon, that was shameless. And Aiyon calls for help. Zayto shows up on the Dino Fury cycle. T-Rex head on the front, big front wheel, 2 smaller back wheels. And while the short fight is of course all CG, there's this interesting kind of filter over the screen that makes everything feel just not quite so fake. It's kind of hard to describe. Anyway, Wreckmate retreats.
Run away! Run away! Run away!
Back at the base, no real apology scene for Aiyon, which, as much as I've complained about them, I think I technically have to count as a positive, even though I feel like in this episode he really did need one. Solon brings out the Flargon cakes, and the Rafkonians explain that these rainbow-frosted, 6-sided, Lego-looking cakes are traditionally eaten in the manner of a pie eating contest. No hands. They all dive in. Amelia loves it, but Ali and the Garcias don't. Ha 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 ha. The end. It's time to balance the cakes. The scales. Episode 2. The Festival. Pros: Dino Cycle is creatively introduced. The premise on both sides is rather unusual, and cute focus on the Rafkonians. Cons: very cynical feeling marketing episode, Aiyon's total lack of maturity, and utter lack of stakes. Sadly, this one ended up feeling exactly as average as I expected it to. The festival gets 3 Flargon cakes, 3 scales out of 5. Gotta say, this is a unique way to introduce a new toy. The Rangers get a new weapon, it works well, but then one of them messes it up. So they have to search the legendary database for ideas, which is as good a reason as any to work in the nostalgia clip show stuff, and strike upon new inspiration. It comes across as this interesting mix of developed from desperation and developed via new tech advancement. And we take that scrambling for an idea focus for the Rangers and combine it with the villains having a sword measuring contest, and it gives this episode a fairly unique premise. This also counts as a con, and I'm getting to it, but the episode just has a unique feeling. There's no master plan from the villains. The Rangers aren't trying out a new weapon to advance their technology. The bad guys are fighting amongst themselves, and the Rangers screwed something up. I can't say we've been waiting a long time since Aiyon was introduced late in Season 1, but it is always nice to get a little bit of focus on the 2 aliens on the team and see them being bros. There's a nice part that I didn't really cover in the plot recap where the two shoot funny puns back and forth at each other, and their shared excitement about the festival, something with which we're not familiar, allows us to experience a little bit of that excitement with them. That being said, the premise of this episode before the script was written was sell the Dino Fury cycle. Look, they tried. They really tried. This is what I was talking about with the creative premise. The infighting with the villains, the Rangers trying to make good on a mistake, it all tries to distract you from that. And yes, Power Rangers is a toy commercial, of course I'm aware of that. But it's at its best when you don't realize it's a toy commercial. And that's where this episode fails. I keep telling myself that at this point, Aiyon hasn't been around all that long, so the writers are still figuring out his character. But I'm really starting to hate this guy, because they keep giving him episodes where he screws up and isn't sorry for it. His responsibility as a ranger was to report that he had damaged the dino chucks immediately. But he doesn't ever apologize for that, I think, and only just barely apologizes for breaking them at all. Again, he presents giving up his motorcycle as the right thing to do, not this is how I can make good for what I did. And yeah, the real flip side of that unique premise I've mentioned a couple times now is that this episode didn't really mean anything. No Sporix Beast this week, no Zord fight for the second week in a row. The villains weren't trying to accomplish anything except for getting rid of the Rangers, and even that was tangential to their little strength contest. Episodic, serialized, completely and utterly unimportant. Can Dino Fury get cranking to some real excitement in its second season? Let's find out by taking a peek at the third episode of Dino Fury Second Era, Missing Pieces. As Solon's system is updated, the Rangers' memories are replaced with false ones by Slither. That is going to wrap up another Power Rangers Dino Fury Second Era episode review. Thank you, heroes, so much as always for watching. Now that the video's done, you can let me know what you thought of this episode, as well as my review of it, down in the comments below. While you're down there, smack that thumbs up button to let me know that you enjoyed this video. And if you'd like to financially support my channel in any way that's not Patreon or Ko-fi, check out my Teespring store to score some sweet Orange Ranger merch. Until next time, heroes, may the power protect you. Fight the Rangers! Because that always works out. So, Zayto and Aiyon teleport into the base, summoned there by This is my annual... A little bit. It'll... yeah, sure. If Aiyon's gift was busted, of course Aiyon... not because he's the one that got the dino chucks broken, because I don't know the rest of the line. However, an alarm goes off and he does take it... Wow. An alarm goes off, Wreckmate is back. But hey, did you know that all of my videos can now be... Not all of my videos, shoot. And throws Aiyon around after tying him up with it. He pulls out an anchor. These cakes are traditionally eaten by describing them first. While you're down there, smack that thumbs up button to let me know what you thought of this... Well, no, that's not how that works.